Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I want to show you how to solo Sentinels of the Multiverse. Sentinels of the Multiverse is one of my favorite games, and it's one in which you play as a team of superheroes fighting against a dastardly supervillain. Sentinels is a cooperative game, which means that it's definitely playable solo. To set up a game of Sentinels of the Multiverse, you should choose a team of 3 heroes. 4 if you're bold. As a solo player, you might prefer to play as 1 or 2, and it's definitely a lot easier to keep track of fewer heroes, but Sentinels is best balanced with 3 to 5. Also, it's the card interactions between heroes that make the game shine, so pick 3. Each hero will have his or her own deck of cards. In Sentinels, the decks are pre-made, so you actually just pull them out of the box and go. Part of the fun of the game is that each character has a deck that works a little bit differently, and some of those are more complicated than others. You're going to want to experiment more as time goes by, but these guys are some good characters to start with because their decks are low difficulty. And actually, if you look in the rulebook, each hero is rated for how hard they are to play. But the Wraith, Legacy, and Ra are all very good starting characters whose interactions are very straightforward and who work fine together. So to get your deck set up, all you do is you take out this card that looks kind of like a comic book cover, and you set it aside. You shuffle all the other cards that will all have the same back into one deck. And that's it. So this is actually your starting HP right here. The thing that looks like an issue number. So the Wraith starts with 26 HP. Legacy starts a little more at 32. But the cards will actually tell you everything that you need to know about your character. So you can track things like HP using the tokens that are provided in the base game, or you can actually use an app that is designed as a companion to this game and will do all the bookkeeping for you. I personally have gotten addicted to the app, and I'm going to show you why later, but tokens are just fine. Now that we've chosen our heroes, we now need a villain, because what's a hero without a good villain? Every villain is going to have a character card that again has their HP up in the top right corner. You know, some keywords at the bottom. They're also going to have a setup card that tells you exactly how to get them rolling for the game. So for example, with Baron Blade, we know at the start of the game, put Baron Blade's villain character cards into play. Terror Lunar Impulsion Beam, Inventor side up. Search the villain deck for the card mobile defense platform and put it into play, then shuffle the villain deck. So the first part just means that you put this card out. See how it says Terror Lunar Impulsion Beam Inventor? Well, Baron Blade has a special other side to him, as you can see in your gameplay. When Baron Blade would be destroyed, you flip his villain character cards instead. What that means is that he actually morphs partway through the boss fight. So this is the side you start with, and that's why it's in the instructions. You also search the villain deck for the card Mobile Defense Platform and put it into play, because Baron Blade starts like riding a cool hoverboard, which is kind of cool if you think about it, even if he's bad. There you go, Mobile Defense Platform. Shuffle the rest of the deck, and his deck is actually ready to go. But as you can see with his Mobile Defense Platform, Baron Blade is immune to damage until you kill this thing. So basically, he's just gonna hover around his little fancy Mobile Defense Platform until we can destroy it, and then him. The last deck that you need for a setup for Sentinels of the Multiverse is an environment deck, because you can't have an epic superhero battle and not have it anywhere. So you just pick another pre-constructed environment deck out of the box, put it down, and that's pretty much ready to go. I mean, you should probably shuffle it first. Setup for Sentinels is really not that bad. You pull the decks that you want, you arrange them in your play area, and that's really it. You are ready to go right out of the box. All right, so now we are all set up and ready to play. Turn order in Sentinels of the Multiverse is actually pretty easy. In fact, there's a very handy little cheat sheet on the back of the rulebook that is great, especially when you're just starting out. It's trying to remember what to do on all of the cards that can be difficult, because there are different sorts of damage modifiers, keeping track of HP, and a lot of special rules. For example, see how Legacy and Baron Blade have the same symbol on these cards? That means that they're nemesis. So when Legacy damages Baron Blade, he does 1 more damage than he normally would. But it works both ways, so when Baron Blade attacks Legacy, it actually does him an extra damage. And there are other little things that we'll run into as we go. But as long as you're paying good attention to the cards, you will be just fine. All right, so the first turn is the villain turn. Start of the villain turn. So if you look at gameplay, it will usually tell you something about the start of the villain turn. What we know here is that at the start of the villain turn, if there are 15 or more cards in the villain trash, Baron Blade's Terra Lunar Impulsion Beam activates, pulling the moon into the earth. Game over. So Baron Blade is trying to destroy the world, and if 15 of his villain deck cards make it into his trash and we don't do something about it, then he will. And that's a problem. So we have to deal with him before that. But for now, nothing's going to happen. So we're just going to play a villain card. Ow. So we got a Living Force Field. Reduce damage dealt to Baron Blade by 1. So this is an irritating, ongoing card that's just going to keep us from hurting him as much as our attacks generally should. Worth noting. But he's played a card that's the end of the villain turn. So each hero actually starts off with 4 cards. So let's see what Ra got in his starting hand. So on a hero turn, there are 3 things that you can do. You can play a card. You don't have to, but you can. You can use a power. Powers are these little extra things written at the bottom of some cards. So Ra's starting power is Ra deals 1 target 2 fire damage. So that's his power. So I can play 1 card, play 1 power, and then I can draw 1 card. If on a turn I choose to neither play a card nor use a power, I can draw 2 cards at the end of my turn instead of 1. So if you have a bunch of cards you really don't like and you're trying to cycle, then that's what you have to do. But for now, let's see what Ra has got. So these 3 cards are 1-shots. That means you play them once, you discard them. This is an ongoing card, and that means that once I put it into play, it stays in play until something makes me remove it. So let's go for this one, ongoing. So when this card enters play, Ra deals 1 target 2 fire damage. It also has another power that I can choose to use during my power phase. So Ra deals 1 target 1 fire damage, you may draw a card. So let's go ahead and get this puppy out there. A Living Conflagration, I like it. So it enters play, it's going to deal 1 target 2 fire damage. We are working on Baron Blade's mobile defense platform because we can't hurt him until we get rid of it. So that is our goal. So I've played a card. Now I can choose a power. This time I'm going to choose Ra deals 1 target 1 fire damage. You may draw a card and take another damage off of here so that I can get an extra card into my hand. And that is Ra's turn. Now it's Legacy's turn. He also had an opening hand of 4 cards. And let's see what he will play. Okay, I think what we're going to do this time, we have some ongoing, we have an equipment, which is basically like kind of an ongoing card, except that it's an item that you use. See this term limited? That means that if I draw a second legacy ring out of my deck, I can't play it while this one is out. You can only have 1 in play if it says limited. All right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just do this 1-shot. We're going to deal 1 target 4 melee damage so that we can keep working on the mobile defense platform because I would like it to go away. So this goes into his discard pile, which I've put off screen for convenience. And then he will draw, no, he can activate a power. So let's do Galvanize. Until the start of my next turn, I increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. A hero target is anyone who is a hero. A villain target is any target that is a villain that has HP. And an environment target will be an environment card, which we'll get to. But for now, these guys are feeling galvanized by Legacy's presence, and any damage they do until the start of his next turn is increased by 1. So now I'm also going to draw a card. And I got another ongoing, a Heroic Interception. So we'll see if we end up using that later. Now it's the Wraith's turn. I won't lie, the Wraith is totally my favorite. I really like her. So let's draw 4. Ooh. Okay. So this is a pretty good starting hand. The Wraith has good stuff. So a grappling hook can destroy an ongoing or an environment card, and let me draw another card. This one lets me search for equipment in my deck. The Wraith has a lot of cool equipment, so I can search through, pick a piece of equipment that I want, and play it, which is great. But I have my favorite right now, which is the Utility Belt. So what I think I want to do right now is let's play this one shot. It's called Trust Fund. It's very Batman. You know, she's like kind of not quite Bruce Wayne. So I'm going to draw 4 cards and then discard 2. So let's discard this card. We're playing this card. So now we're going to draw 4 more. Ooh, good stuff. Ooh, another Trust Fund. That's kind of nice. And then we're going to discard 2. So I really want the grappling hooks. They're great. I definitely want the Utility Belt. This is awesome. So these cards aren't going anywhere. So I need to discard 2 of these. I'm going to go ahead and ditch these 2 so I can Trust Fund again later and keep moving through my deck looking for good stuff. So she's done her card. She's played her card. Now we are going to activate our power, reduce the next damage that could be dealt to Wraith by 2. So that's pretty cool. The next time somebody tries to hurt me, I can reduce that damage by 2. So, oh, and I also get to draw 1 more card because it's the end of my turn. Good stuff. All right, I got another infrared eyepiece. Okay, so my heroes have all gone, and that means that we're going to cycle over to the environment turn. So the environment basically just exists to be difficult. It adds challenge to your game. So it's the start of the environment turn. You play an environment card. Players cannot draw cards. Thanks, Megalopolis. Thanks. So until we get rid of this card, we can't draw any new cards. So I guess we know what we're going to be trying to attack next round. The good news for me, however, is that the Wraith has these grappling hooks. Destroy 1 ongoing or environment card. So if we can just make it to her next turn, I can probably wipe that out. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. Rather than waste damage on this, we'll just wait for the Wraith to take care of it. But that was the environment turn. So now we are back over to the villain turn. So we'll cycle through this 1 more time, and that'll be the end of our sample play. So now it's Baron Blade's turn again. Great. So it's the start of the villain turn. There are not 15 cards in his trash, so we're okay on that for now. Hasten Doom. No! Okay, so Baron Blade is just going to hit all of us for 2 toxic damage, 3 in the case of Legacy since they are nemesis, and play the top card of the villain deck. Oh, that sucks. Okay, that's alright. So he's going to hit Ra for 2. He's actually going to hit Legacy for 3, because remember, they are nemesis, so when Baron Blade hits Legacy, it does a little bit more damage, just 1 more damage than it would do to anyone else. And then he's going to try to hit the Wraith for 2, but her power was reduce the next damage that could be dealt to Wraith by 2. So that means that she didn't get hurt this time. And thank goodness for that, because she starts with a lower HP anyway. So that was that card. We put it in the discard, and then we play the top card of the villain deck, so we have to go through this again. Consider the price of victory, 1 shot. Each player discards 1 card, but we can't draw cards. Oh no! Baron Blade deals each hero target 2 sonic damage. Discard X cards from the top of the villain deck, where X is the number of hero cards discarded this turn. Alright, so let's deal with the damage. Okay, so we each have to discard a card. Alright, so 1 discard. Alright, discard. Discard. So everyone discarded a card. Now we're going to go across and handle the damage. So Baron Blade deals each hero target 2 sonic damage. So that's 2 damage to Ra. That's 3 damage to Legacy, because he and Baron Blade are nemesis. And it's 2 to the Wraith, because she can only prevent the first 2 damage that would be dealt to her. So she protected herself some, but Baron Blade came back around. This goes in the discard pile, but first, discard X cards from the top of the villain deck, where X is the number of hero cards discarded this turn. So that puts 1, 2, 3 more cards in his discard, bringing his trash total to 5. So he needs 15 in there to destroy the world. So we need to do something about him before that can happen. So now that his turn is over, we're going to roll back around to our hero turns. So we can't draw cards right now, so I'm going to hang on this card for Summon Staff. Oh, it's a great card. Okay, let's see. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a one-shot, where Ra deals 1 target, 1 fire damage. Except that don't forget, last turn I played Legacy's Power, Galvanize. Until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So Ra gets a 1 damage bonus for every move he makes this turn, which is great. So let's go ahead and play the Flame Spike. It's a one-shot. I can deal 1 target, 1 fire damage, but it's actually 2. So this will take 2 fire damage. And then I can also use an additional power this turn. So let's go ahead and use both of my powers. I can't draw a card, but this power, I can do 1 target, 1 fire damage. So what I'm actually going to do is technically 2 fire damage, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and kill this off. It says you may draw a card, but I can't because players cannot draw cards. But this goes in, sadly it goes to the villain trash, but it's gone. And it means that we can now attack Baron Blade for a little bit. And then I can deal 1 target 2 fire damage using my second power, except that I can deal 1 target 3 fire damage. So I'm going to fire 3 fire damage at him, but this living force field says reduce damage dealt to Baron Blade by 1. So 3 minus 1 is going to be just 2 damage. But at least it's something. Baron Blade got his first little smack from us. Now it's Legacy's turn. So Legacy needs to do something to mess with Baron Blade while he can. So I think what we're going to do is, even though I'd really like to do this with more targets, we're going to go ahead and do Legacy deals up to 3 targets, 3 melee damage each. So we're going to go ahead and play it while Baron Blade is exposed, because there are more mobile defense platforms in here, and I'd really prefer not to have to deal with that. So we're going to attack him. So it can do 3 melee damage to him, plus 1 because they're nemesis, minus 1 because we reduce damage dealt to Baron Blade by 1. So that's going to total out to 3 damage. But we got another hit in on Baron Blade. So that goes in his discard. And now I'm going to use the Galvanize power again. Until the start of your next turn, increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So these guys can do a little more damage when they get around to it. Now it's the Wraith's turn. So what the Wraith is going to do is she is going to play her grappling hook. Destroy 1 ongoing or environment card. So I'm going to destroy this card. Get out, environment card. Goes in the environment trash. Yeah. Then I may draw a card. Okay, so we got the inventory barrage. And then I'm going to go ahead and play my power, which would reduce the next damage that would be dealt to me by 2. Draw 1 more card so I can gain some HP later. And that is the Wraith's turn. So everybody's had their turn. We're going to go back to the environment turn. Hostage situation. Hero cards cannot be played. At the start of the environment turn, each player may discard 1 card each to destroy this card. So the start of this past environment turn already happened. We are in the environment turn now. So that means that we just have to sit here until the next environment turn and then try to do something about this stupid card. Ah, that's brutal. Oh man. So at the start of the next environment turn, we can discard 1 card each to destroy this card. So we're all just going to have to ditch cards from our hand so that we can play cards again. That stinks. But of course, the whole point of the environment is to mess with us, so what you going to do? Then we'll be back on to Baron Blade's turn, but I'm actually going to stop this sample playthrough for now. You guys have seen sort of the basic calculations that go into playing this game, and you should have a sense of how it flows. It is simple as long as you're paying attention to what it says on the cards. So I know that not everybody is into apps and board games, but I want to recommend Sentinels Sidekick to you. You might have noticed there was a lot of bookkeeping in that analog version of Sentinels the Multiverse, which I don't really mind. But if you do, or you just want to make sure you're not making any mistakes, this app is amazing. So for example, you can just pick your villain, and it's got every villain that's in the game. We did Baron Blade. And it even does his setup correctly. Like, he starts with a mobile defense platform that you have to destroy before you can start attacking him. It's fantastic. And like, let's say that you want to add a card. There's actually like target cards that you can add on here that reflect the ones that you'll find in the deck. It's really, really neat. And then you can also choose your heroes. So a hero, you can actually scroll down and find whoever you wanted. So I had Ra, click Ra. I had the Wraith. Did they do it by the, no, okay. The Wraith. And then I had Legacy, so I can go down and find Legacy. And it'll automatically put them in for me with the correct amount of HP, and you can just hit buttons to increase and decrease that HP, which I think is really, really, really cool. You can even put your environment in. So let's say we're doing Megalopolis. We can actually set up the whole game on here and sort of record the damage that's being done as it happens, so that it's easier to keep track of who has what HP without the tokens. If you want no bookkeeping at all and you're not averse to totally playing a game on your iPad, then Sentinels also has a full app. So I recommend this to people who think that the concept of Sentinels of the Multiverse is great, but really cringe at the idea of keeping track of all those different types of damage. So if you get the app, you can actually just play. It's got a pretty good tutorial. You get to choose your villain, you get to choose your heroes, and you get to choose your environment. You can even choose to randomize them and play as whoever. So in this case, we'd have Baron Blade, but we'd get Legacy, Bunker, Absolute Zero, Tachyon, and we'd be playing in Insula Primalis, which is like a scary dinosaur island. So I kind of like the fiddliness of Sentinels of the Multiverse, but if you don't, but you like the theme, then this may be a solution for you. No matter how you like it, I really hope that you do attempt to play Sentinels of the Multiverse. I think it's a game that's really worth your time and attention, and give it a shot. Happy gaming.